Here are some realities rarely talked about by Western media. Western governments have long denied that Xinjiang suffers from a terrorism problem and have tried to manipulate the UN human rights system to frame China as an anti-Muslim villain. China is undergoing a UN human rights review this January. The UN created the Universal Periodic Review in 2006. Through this review, every UN member state must undergo an examination of its human rights performance every 4.5 years.
But instead of working collaboratively within the UN to improve human rights universally, the West prefers to treat it as a battleground for one-upmanship.
Unfortunately, in the UPR and generally in the Human Rights Council, the name of the game is invective. The name of the game is to point fingers. And why does naming and shaming not work? Most of the time, the namer, whether it be the United States or the United Kingdom or France, is a former colonial power. So the namer doesn't have a good name. I mean, you can only name if you have authority, if you have moral authority, legal authority.
Unfounded accusations are not only brought up by Western governments at the Human Rights Council, they are also made by Western NGOs.
Non-governmental organizations do it as well. And they present reports, they accuse China of genocide, but then the same organizations that accuse China of genocide without any evidence do not accuse Israel of genocide for what is happening today, which we see on television every day, in Gaza. More than 25,000 civilian deaths and massive violations of the Geneva Red Cross Conventions and massive violations of the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, etc., etc.
The NGOs, the governments, and the media formed a perfectly unaccountable echo chamber.
I have been working for 50 years in various capacities in the field of human rights. Double standards. I have seen double standards since day one. And when we had the horrible stories about torture in Guantanamo, on 2 occasions, there were proposed resolutions before the Commission on Human Rights to establish a rapporteurship for Guantanamo. They were blocked and then defeated, both of them, by the European Union and the United States.
The stories of self-identified Uyghur victims have flooded Western media, with many of them having their connections to terrorists concealed and Western media uncritically bestowing on them victim status. Meanwhile, the real victims of terrorist attacks in Xinjiang have been blatantly ignored or denied by Western media. A research group from Jinan University conducted a 3-year-long field study, interviewing more than 60 survivors of terror attacks across different regions of Xinjiang, culminating in a detailed report on how the terror attacks have impacted the lives of the survivors and the welfare of the community.
I am aware of decades of terrorism in Xinjiang, and then the measures taken by China to ensure stability and also progress in Xinjiang. I mean, I am familiar with the Yecheng terrorist incident in 2012, and that, of course, in the mainstream media, New York Times, Washington Post, CNN, doesn't exist. The American people are entirely unaware of it.
Over the past decades, China has amended and improved its criminal laws, including counterterrorism law and other interconnected laws.
In today's Xinjiang, China's counterterrorism measures have been considerably rolled back, and Xinjiang is now China's top tourist destination, hosting 265.44 million visitors in 2023.
抖音